everyone. This is it. We are live again, radio and TV on Thrive and Shine. This is a platform for amazing leaders in the world. I am interviewing leaders from all over the world who are conscious leaders and are very authentic in their power. They are thriving because they hold their values very dear to their heart. They are authentically aligned with their power. What does that mean? Well, it means that you are holding true what matters to you, and you are no longer apologetic for that, and you're really thriving in this world, in business and in your personal life in a way that is so authentic. And conscious leadership is really dear to my heart because I feel it matters today to be not only in line with our authentic power, but also be leading in this world in a conscious way, which means to be to really care about not only the people that you lead and how you lead them, but also about the collective consciousness and how the bottom line is in line with the values that you hold dear for yourself and your business. So without further ado, today we have an amazing man, because this platform is not just for women, because my work is all about women, but it's also for men. And we have this beautiful man. His name is Stephane Leblanc. Stephane is an amazing leader and a friend of mine who I love so much. He is the CEO and founder of the International Center for Conscious Leadership in Montreal, out of all places, as I just left Montreal. So, Stephane, welcome to this show.
Thank you. It's so nice to meet you.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you.
Good. So welcome. You are streaming from Montreal right now with us, and I want to have this conversation with you about your life, about what has brought you to create this amazing center and organization. So tell us a little bit about the context. Who are you? Where do you come from?
So I'm Stephane Leblanc, as you mentioned. I'm born and raised in Montreal. So this week's a big week for me. I'll be 52. And, gray hair for me is a sign of wisdom that's finally found its way to me. So
congratulations.
Most of my career, I've been in, something I did. Okay. Most of my career, I've been senior executive in very large businesses. So when I was 25, I started for a big aerospace company, and I moved all the way to the top, running a big organization, 3,000 people, $2.5 billion revenue. And what I used to do was build these luxury jets, for Fortune 200 companies or high net worth individuals. So I built 1,000 of them in my career with my team. So I saw I saw a lot of people with lots of money. And along the way, I discovered that, all this that I've been pursuing so hard, the work, the rewards, the bonus, the Mercedes, all this stuff, it wasn't really making myself happy. I said, okay, what's next? What's really next? And along the path, I discovered what I call transformational leadership. 12 years ago, I didn't know it was called conscious leadership. So I just decided to lead from a different point of view. I decided to lead with meaning and purpose and significance and focus on people. And 12 years later, I'm here now. A year and a half ago, I made the choice to leave the corporate world. So I'm a corporate refugee.
I love that.
I decided that the only way to change the system was to be outside the system. You cannot change the system when you're inside a company and you get paid really well to maintain the system. So what I do now is my mission is completely shifted. I'm a catalyst for the transformation of other leaders and the rise of consciousness in organization, not just business, around the world. Now, that's a complete disconnect from what I used to do. I was a very good capitalist. I probably made hundreds of millions of dollars for the companies I worked for. And now I'm really in service of consciousness that wants to rise and being a catalyst, creating a safe space for people to transform their lives.
I'm going to stop you a little bit because there's so many things that are popping up for me that I want to ask you. First of all, one of the funny parts of our past kind of joining unknowingly to us is that the company you were with you were working with in Montreal, this big aerospace company, happened to be my largest client in my previous company, which I found that really to be quite interesting and funny. That's Bombardier. And so more importantly, what I want to understand is what prompted this shift for you. Like you said, 12 years ago, you started looking at all of this. Did it come from a discomfort you had in the corporate world? Like, how did it happen?
It came from a boss that I had who, in hindsight, was a very enlightened leader. So when I was probably 37 or something, I had a new VP GM. I used to be a GM of a team of 700 people. I was really good. I was performing, managing operation. And I had the behaviors of a typical, leader that manages operation. I was quite demanding. And this new boss came in and he says, Stephane, I'm sorry, but I have to give you a performance review that is well below what your expectation, because your way of managing people is not what I would like to be. And I was really upset because, all my life I had been what they call the high potential leader, someone that's destined to be a president. And I refused to sign this evaluation. And then this boss was very wise. After a week, he brought me to breakfast and he says, I'm assessing you against your potential, not against your past. And it says, if you don't change that, you're not going to attain your vision, your ambition. So I accepted that. I said, okay, that's cool. I can take that. And then I went on a walk, I tried to discover, how do I completely change myself? And the thing with life is when you go on a walk and you search, you always find something, and then I found, I got a coach, and then I found some transformation work. And then I really fell in love with transformation. Because at 38, I discovered that who I was the day before did not define who I was going to be tomorrow.
Oh, I love that. Who I was the day before is not going to define me tomorrow. That, as Oprah says, this is a tweetable moment. We have to tweet this. Anyone? Yes, perfect. Okay. Actually, we've got amazing backup here. We are tweeting this. I love this. This is amazing. Can you actually expand a little bit on what was he asking of you? Can we expand on that?
Yeah. So at that time, I think I was very good managing the people that, I manage operations. And when you build airplanes, there's a lot of things that go wrong. And at the end, you're accountable for profits, when the plane gets delivered. So, and, I was very good with my own employees, but very, very demanding with my suppliers, my peers. And he got a lot of backlash out of that. So he says, I would like you to be better at managing relationships, for example. And what I discovered through this transformation journey is that all the behavior that I exercise, this being demanding, being fast, being tough, is what I decided was asked of me being a leader of operations. Remember when I joined that company, I was 25. Leaders of operations banged on table and swore in meetings,
A lot changes in those years.
That's right. And I learned to be like that. I was very good at it, but it didn't always please me. And then I just discovered through this transformation work that inside me was a very tender heart person, a very loving leader, very sensitive. And I decided to embrace that. And then I became what I call my true self. And, in hindsight today, I teach this work, it's pretty basic, Carl Jung psychology, letting go of all your mask and your attachment to your ego and limiting beliefs and overcoming all that and becoming your true self.
That's it. And that's what I call authentic power. This is really a way of operating in life, right? In a way that is very true to you. Whatever true to you means to you, that's what matters, is we need to embrace what we have inside. Yep. And so instead of becoming demanding, fast and tough, you became a softer leader. How would you describe your type of leadership today?
I'm still a very demanding person, because when you're a man, I've always been a man on a mission. When I was really, really young, you talked about authentic. I was a very, very shy, when I was young, for whatever reason. And along the way, I discovered that if I worked harder, faster, achieve better results, I could actually Actually, I could actually be someone in society because I wasn't a popular kid when I was young because I was so shy. So I've always been a man on a mission, deliver, overachieve, work really, really hard. So being demanding is not an issue, but you can still be demanding with a big art and care for people. So now the way I lead, which is the essence of conscious leadership, is you have a vision and you work really hard, but you also spend a lot of time caring for the people that you lead, and making sure they can rise to their full potential and work as much to eliminate fear out of their context as you can. So it's a balance between caring and being demanding. And to be honest, now you and I discussed that before. It's the balance between the feminine side and the masculine side that each of us has in us that I've embraced. So I'm getting closer to a wholeness that most men have neglected because, in business, if you're sensitive and caring, then you're seen as weak. But I personally find that it actually makes you a much better leader because now you can, it's like playing golf, there's not only one club, there's many clubs. And sometimes it's time to be caring and sometimes it's time to be demanding,
Right.
So it's a better balance.
I love that you bring this up because, of course, this is the basis of my coaching and expertise is, the merge and harmony between the masculine and the feminine within everyone, right? We as women need to be really checking in with this type of balance within. And of course, we need to really decide from where do we want to lead? Do we want to lead from a masculine place or do we want to lead from a feminine place? And so for you to bring it up is opening a little bit of the conversation on how would you actually introduce this type of concept to people who are listening right now and are not so familiar with the masculine and the feminine and would need to understand it better so that they become greater and more conscious leaders?
I mean, the first thing I would, it's funny because I did introduce that in my own management team before, and there's always a majority of men, but I used to have a lot of women in my teams, 30, 40%, which is well above average in business. And some of the men were quite open to that. And some of the men, they didn't even want to touch it. I said, no. There's no way I have any feminine side in me. And I said, okay, so I knew I had more work to do. What I've found is women are pretty astute at developing the masculine side. They have no choice in business. They have to develop this warrior, this toughness, and what I found in business that is dramatic is we name women in position of power and then we ask them to be like men. We ask them to negate their feminine side and say, okay, well, what is that? And I can't even imagine how it is for a woman to do that, to go and just put all the feminine aspects of her personality and then go home and be a mother and whatever.
I can attest it's very difficult. It's a learning process once you decide to do it differently, which is the premise for my coaching. And thank you for honoring that truth for women. It is quite challenging, and it's actually, we completely deny our feminine in business, and we believe it's a weakness. And we tend to want to emulate men because we believe that that's the only way we'll be included and respected and brought into their group. So thank you for respecting this truth. It matters a lot that it's recognized because I think there is another way. We both know there is another way, but our audience, for whoever doesn't know that there is another way, I can guarantee you there is another way because we are the living proof, right?
And you're absolutely right. And for me, this conversation is so important because I wasn't always like that. But right now, when I worry about the fate of humanity. And I worry about, if my kids that are teenagers will be able to have grandkids. I really worry, is it going to work, humanity? And some people take it lightly. I don't take it lightly. I think we're in the face of a major catastrophe. And my humble assessment is one of the reasons is we live in a very patriarchal society where the masculine is the warrior, destruction. What I found with a lot of masculine leaders is they sacrifice themselves and then they ask other people to sacrifice. There's no care. And then we end up destroying everything. And I think with the feminine side, the goal here is that we need the rise of the feminine. We need women to be able to be women, but we need men to embrace their feminine side. And to be honest, there's a lot of education that needs to be done because our society teaches the opposite. If you have a boy at home and he plays sports, he's told, play hurt and don't cry and don't do this. And all my life in business, I've been criticized for being too sensitive. And I know for a fact now that my sensitivity is actually a sign of evolution. And it brings me, it allows me to connect with people. They'll accept my leadership better. So I think we need to kind of demystify that. And I think one way that I use is it's not about the man and woman. It's about the feminine and the masculine energy. It's an energy that each of us has. So it's not because you have the feminine side that you're now a feminine man. No, it has nothing to do with that. It's more an energy. There's women that are very, very elegant women, and they have the masculine side, the energy.
I was that woman up until I decided that, because to your point, so again, thank you for bringing up all of these facts that are facts, and we need to talk about it. And this is why I'm so passionate to not only have this platform for men and women who want to bring more of this consciousness to the surface, because we need to talk about it. And so, like you were saying, the man who sacrificed the masculine, well, the masculine is used to sacrificing for the strategy that he chooses, the hunt he's going for. He sacrifices because he's got to in some way. It's like a belief system, right? And the women, just like I was, very feminine on the outside. It has nothing to do with women being a woman or being a man, but the femininity on the outside is a look which has nothing to do with the energy on the inside. And the energy I had on the inside was extremely masculine. And as we just specifically spoke about sacrifice, I thought that I needed to sacrifice everything pretty much around me to rise to this achievement and success level that I had determined for myself, right? So it is nothing about being a woman or a man. It's not about gender. This is not a conversation about gender. It's a conversation about what we have within. Yin, yang, Shakti. What's the opposite of Shakti, actually? Do we know? Shiva, exactly. So it's feminine, masculine. It's ensuring that we know what that is and leading from that perspective of harmony within, that brings us to a much higher level of understanding, right?
Yes. And I think it's I think everyone knows about the yin and yang in Asia, and in India it's the Shiva Shakti. Shiva is described as consciousness, and Shakti is described as creativity, the creation. So without the Shakti, there's no demonstration and physical world about. And I think it's we can call it whatever, we say right brain, left brain, right brain, creativity. I'm not sure it's all true, but I think it's good to have all aspects, and so even if we get away, I have a friend who's Indian, he says, let's just stop calling it feminine, masculine, let's just call them, wholeness or human quality. I think the challenge is that when we're born as a brand new baby, we have both energies inside us. Society, teaches us to negate one, and especially the man, negate the more feminine part. And to be honest, I think I shared with you, I went to a man's workshop. I think in the US it's called the Mankind Project. In Canada it's called Men of Arts. It's a 3-day warrior's journey workshop for men.
Yes.
And one of the things we do is we teach men about the feminine, masculine energy, believe it or not. And there was 42 men with me. And after men, the stronger energy was feminine. And for all these men like me, their best friends had always been women. And now they discovered that there was other men like that, that had this. And then to discover that it's okay, that it's just part of wholeness. It was so liberating that some men cried. Because, instead of being defective, they learned that they were evolved.
Wow, what a shift.
Yeah, it's a huge shift. And
Yes.
today I just posted something on Facebook. I happened to find something today. All these ads, fashion ads of very famous brands that sell to women, and they use women in such degrading, pictures. And I'm saying, even some of the famous car companies, I'm saying, really, we as a society, we accept that, And I posted that. I said, I'd take a stand for the opposite of that. And obviously, all the women are saying, yeah, we agree with you. But what I want is the men to also say, we're not going to accept that. We keep talking about the rights of animals,
Right.
Why do we accept in our society that for fashion ads, there's women? I saw an ad for a shoe company. I'm not going to name it. But the woman is in the trunk pretending like she's dead, and there's a man with a shovel. And that's an ad for a women's shoe, very fancy shoes. That you know the brand. I'm not going to name it here. I'm saying, I take a stand. This doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for me. So this is the result of whatever we accept in our society. And it's the same with what happened in your part of the town, Hollywood, with Harvey Weinstein. I mean, this lasted for at least 20 years. There's a lot of people around him that knew this stuff, and because he was paying him, it was okay.
Yeah.
Until one woman raised her hand and said, no, it's not okay. And then it's tens of dozens of people,
Right. And of
so
course,
I'm diverging, but it's a very sensitive subject for me, because for me, conscious leadership, one of the biggest pillar is the rise of the feminine. It's one of the biggest pillar.
What are the other pillars then? The rise of the feminine, and of course we could keep on talking about this, because I'm all about the rise of the feminine, and in honor of the men around us, because I fundamentally believe. Oops, I just hit my microphone. I believe that through the rise of the feminine, women who are not only educated about the difference between masculine and feminine, who choose to lead from a standpoint of powerful femininity, which has nothing to do with being fluffy and all of that, but it's the power they have within that they decide to no longer apologize for and no longer justify, and they fully embrace it. Once we are in that power, anything can happen, right? And the beautiful thing that happens magically in that moment is we honor the men around us in a much different way. When I shifted, and I did a lot of work to shift, I saw the reactions of men around me that were totally respectful and honoring and wanting to help. And at the beginning, I was literally going, are you talking to me? Like, I just had no understanding, and I had no previous experience of what that level of honor and respect felt like. So it's a big way for us to welcome and honor you, men, in our lives, right?
And the whatever happened, like with the Me Too, I kept saying we're all co-responsible.
We are.
When we have kids, we raise them, and sometimes I see young teenagers and I'm saying that's how they behave, But as parents, you try to teach values and respect. And I remember, Tatiana, my son was a hockey player and he was a goalie. And one year he played with boys that were 2 to 3 years older than him. So he was like 14. He was 13. They were 14 to 17, young men. And every night, every game he came home, he says, Dad, you can't even imagine what they're talking about. And what they're swearing and how they talk about girls. He was still like a young boy. He wasn't just saying starts, the group thing and all this kind of stuff. So you asked me what's another pillar? Another pillar is love. Because, and Carl Jung said there's only 2 basic emotions, love and fear. Love and fear, and both cannot coexist at the same time.
No, they're mutually exclusive.
Love or fear. That's right.
Yeah.
So my experience in business, it is mostly driven by fear, mostly driven by ego and the focus of performance. And, most of what we learn in business school is to lead with the head. And I can't remember who said it, but one man, famous author, said the longest journey for for a human is to go from the head to the heart. It's a very long journey, longer than Montreal to California.
Yeah.
And for most people, it's a life journey because society wants us to be scared. Because when you're scared, you consume, you buy, you perform, you do whatever you're asked to. And for me, it's not the right way to create. So conscious leadership is really about leading from love. And I'm very strong on that. How can you lead if you don't love people? And I tell you what, my experience is a lot of leaders don't actually love their people. How can you serve clients if you don't love them? You know, if you're only trying to extract money out of them. And what I discovered also is that you cannot love others more than you love yourself. So my whole life shifted a year and a half ago because I fell in love, like deeply in love with myself. So for the first time in my life, it took me 51 years to fall in love with me. Because just like everyone else, you know, I kept saying my imperfections and, you know, I'm not
you
worthy.
You were in fear. And by the way, you were in fear, right? So for people who are not fully understanding what we're talking about, operating from a place of fear versus love is not knowing how to love yourself first. It's making decisions from a fear-based place. So it's looking at all imperfections. It's looking at judgment. It's looking at how we're not enough. It's looking at what else could we do instead of be, right? And so you shifted, and then what happened?
What happens when I shifted, and I think it's the same for everyone, is then you can put focus on others. So, you know, most people relationship, they don't have a huge appreciation for themselves. So in most of their relationship, they're trying to use what's there from others to fulfill their own void. It's the same in romantic relationship. It's the same in relationship. It's the same at work. You'll have people leading people, and they're using that relationship to fulfill their own thing. Just like a lot of parents are living vicariously through their kids.
Yeah.
You know, in hockey, figure skating, ballet, or music, or they want their kids to satisfy what they didn't satisfy when they were young, you know? And I think it's quite dramatic. So when I fell in love with myself, then I was really able to focus on the needs of others and you know, to serve them. And so when I do my work now, when I do workshop, actually when I do my transformation work as a catalyst for transformation of others, my intention is to love them like they've never been loved before.
That's so beautiful.
No attachment, because you know I'm not in romantic relationship. I'm not a friend. I'm their coach. So come to me for advice, for work, and if I can hold the loving space for them, magic happens. You know, people will be so vulnerable in sharing with people in a room that they didn't even know until the workshop started, things that never shared to anyone else in their life, because this space is safe. They know it's a loving environment, and we all know who they are with no judgment. Like one person told me, a very wise person, love is the absence of judgment. So can you know, well, that's what I mean. When someone shares a shadow part of their past, can I just embrace it? And because, you know, I have a lot of shadow parts.
We all do. We all do. We all have shadow side, which is the contrast of life, which is also the opportunity we're given for continuously choosing light, right? I mean, we all have a shadow side. So where do you want to live is the decision that anyone can make, and it's a choice that we have daily. So what happened to or how did this shift of falling in love with yourself affected or impacted your personal life? You're talking a lot about your professional life. How did it have an impact on your family and your close friends?
So what happened is I lost a lot of friends. I let go of my mask. I 100% embrace who I am with no reservation, and in all facets of my life. So in business, online, and in my personal life, I'm the same guy, which a lot of people are not used to, because a lot of people are used to show a certain side of themselves on LinkedIn, a certain side of themselves to their family, a certain side. So I'm quite confident, and it's not arrogant. It's confidence with humility about who I am. I'm in service, of raising consciousness. And so a lot of people look at me and say, we wish you would be different. We wish you were less like that and more like that. But what they're really telling me is that they're recognizing in me their own unfulfilled needs and their own imperfection. So it's kind of funny for me as a catalyst for transformation. People would project on me all sorts of things. There's people that will say, oh, wow, you're so great, and other people will criticize me. And I'm just saying, and I know they're just criticizing themselves. So I just hold back the mirror with compassion and say, thank you very much for your comment. Thank you. I appreciate it. But maybe you should consider what's in it for you. So the reason I said I lost a lot of friends, and it's quite, for me, everything is a level of consciousness. Fear is a very low level of consciousness. Love is a very high level of consciousness.
Well, it's the strongest energy in the world, right? That's proven.
Yeah. So when you vibrate at a higher level, people that are at a different level, they don't resonate with you. There's people that I used to be really close with in my past jobs, they don't even answer my emails because it's like for them, I don't exist. It's like two different worlds and there's no resonance. And then I've discovered a whole slew of new friends. Most of my close friends are new friends, except 3 friends that I had before I embraced this new way of being. So, and with my family, there was a lot of challenges in the beginning because, I went from being a senior executive with a fixed pay, big bonus and Disney vacation every year to now being someone that wants to change the world, that's in service of a great cause. But that comes with a lot of risk and a lot of uncertainty, which I'm quite comfortable with because I feel I'm being carried in this mission by the universe. But, my family, they projected on me all their fears. I mean, my son even told me last year he was going through a teenage crisis. Dad, it's about time you go get a real job.
Oh, don't you love being told this type of comment by your own son or child, whether it's a girl or a boy? Wow. How did you handle it?
You're just going through being a teenager, which is fine. It's part of psychology.
Well, it's a rebellion, right? They have to cut the umbilical cord in some way, and so that's what they do. Trust me, been there, done that. I still sometimes am part of that, and they're no longer teenagers. How did you handle it? What did you say?
No, but I obviously you're hurt by that, but you understand that there's a bit of psychology involved. But there's I've also learned to it is a mission that I'm carrying. I'm meeting extraordinary people around the world, just like you. We met by synchronicity. There's a lot of new relationship around the world. It's quite magical what I do. I'm organizing conferences in Montreal, soon Israel, Mexico, India, all through synchronicity. So I'm following the energy, and I accept that some old relationship, will no longer be there because, for now, maybe they'll come back at some point. And I've kind of learned that, this is a basic concept about impermanence. Mm-hmm. Nothing lasts forever. So, and with my family or my close friends that project their fears, then the only thing I'm still learning is to have love and compassion. There's no use to start a debate when we're not on the same frequency. It's just, this is what I'm doing. I feel confident and, mm-hmm. I understand your concerns and thank you for sharing them.
Yeah, exactly. Acceptance. Beautiful.
It is a tough concept, to be honest, because, and this is why transformation is a lifelong journey.
Absolutely.
We never really transform. We're always transforming. So.
Absolutely. It is tough on a family level. I mean, it does allow us to be in the presence of sometimes reluctance and opposition, and it's a very humbling process to deal with it with grace and acceptance. And some people will shift. I mean, I've experienced my 2 girls shifting with me eventually, and I allowed time, understanding they wouldn't get it right away. And at the beginning, they were saying to me, well, you're part of a cult or something. And I'm like, no, this is not a cult. And so they eventually shifted, and some other people don't shift as much. But I think that the beautiful part of our own transformation and our own shifting is that eventually you see the people closer to you, the ones who are family, who eventually shift in either big ways or small ways to their own medium and their own way of being able to shift, right? Some others, it's a bit more painful to actually not be, I guess, resonating. So it's a path, and it's a journey, and it's a transformation. And so today, when you are in your full power and your full embracing of your leadership, your conscious leadership, where are you in terms of what do you do when you feel like that? Is it when you are coaching someone? Is it when you are in the process of organizing these conferences? Is it when you're, like, tell me a little bit, all of the different facets.
So, the thing when I'm really in flow is when I'm creating. So I'm a creator, and today I know that the reason I'm getting so good now is I allow creation to create through me. So I'm just a channel for all this creation, all these synchronicities. I'm always grateful. I think all of us have talents, but the amount of magic in my life is unexplainable. So I'm just grateful every day. Okay, wow. And because I'm a hard worker, and I've always used to manage big organizations, I'm pretty fast, to call someone. I'm not shy to do all that stuff, and I'm a risk taker. So I organize a conference, and now I'm doing one in Mexico, Israel. I'm not scared at all. I find the right contact, and then we just go, and people follow that. That's what I call leadership, to create out of nothing. I didn't know anybody in Israel until 2 months ago, and now I have a partner. I didn't know no one in Mexico, and now I have a partner there, and soon India. And then when you affirm, like for me, the big shift is when you have a clear intention. Windar used to talk about the power of intention. For me, an intention is also a vision. What's my vision? My vision is that if we raise consciousness around the world, we may actually have a chance to have a society where we have harmony and people working together to create a healthy society. Okay, so that's my vision. So that's true raising consciousness. It's not by making more money, or it's not by doing all that. And then I become a channel for that, and then all the right people are being connected with me, and I'm connected with the right people. And me being on your show today, I had no clue this would happen 2 weeks ago. And so there's a lot of that, and instead of me fighting and trying to decide everything, I just follow. When something comes to me, I resonate, yes or no, yes or no. So it's always in terms of resonance, and I think all of us have this ability to create, to actually become the creator. And sometimes it's because we create something, sometimes it's because we choose our reaction instead of reacting out of spite and fear. No, this happened. How do I react? And then by the way you react, you actually create your life. You create harmony instead of another battle. So you talked about personal life. In my household, things are starting to change quite a bit, and I think it's not because I taught any of what I know to my kids and my wife. I think it has to do with the way of being. So
Absolutely.
I'm sorry?
Absolutely. It is the way of being.
Yeah. So they observe you, and then they say, okay, something's going on. And then they ask questions, and then certain things start to shift, I've had a conversation with my wife about, the reaction somewhere in public, something happened. I said, you can make a big issue out of it, or you could just say, yeah, it's a small thing. They're not very honest, but I'm not going to make an issue out of it. I'm just going to move on. I'm not going to let that affect me today. There's the people are listening. Even my daughter, she's a figure skater, 14 years old. I have a lot of conversation about her state of mind and how she looks at things. And people listen. But I think people only listen if they see that you intend to help them by what you share, but also if you have embodied some of it, you know.
I think it's the only way. The only way to create change is embodying that change to begin with. And so, whether it's in your household or in the world of business, there is no change that anyone is going to believe and therefore follow if they are not feeling it from you to begin with. And so, that's how I saw the biggest changes in my daughters is when I was embodying what I was talking about, and actually I had stopped talking. Talking is no longer necessary when you are in the presence of your children or your very close family. It's embodying the change, and so it's the energy they feel from you, right? And it's matching whenever you do say something. They match that with the very essence and energy they feel from you, and that's congruency, you know, when that alignment is formed. So I'm happy for your family that they are finally shifting with you. That's amazing, beautiful.
Yeah, but we all have a lot of shifting to do. Like I have my own challenges and where I'm trying to grow. And like right now, my biggest challenge is my complete intolerance to BS. I'm just like, wow, you know, we live in a very superficial society, and like so much superficial. I'm saying, wow, you know, we have all these natural disasters, and it's not enough for people to wake up and say, okay, it's time to. People, you know, the natural disasters happen, hasn't touched them. Okay, let's go back shopping. Let's go back. And I see, especially on social media, all this superficial stuff. I'm like, so then someone said, okay, what about love and compassion? Oh, yeah, you're right. Let me express love and compassion. Because, you know, when I see that, I'm saying, okay, the work to awake humanity to a new way of being is big. You know, it's daunting. It's so much work.
So there is a trigger in you in with the BS, as you just called it, right? So what do you think is the trigger that is helping you grow actually?
It's where I'm at now is acceptance, love, and compassion. So accept whatever someone does as they're probably doing the best they can. You know, on a scale of consciousness, they might be at a very low level. So they need to project on social media all this superficial. That's who they are.
Right.
That's where they're at.
Right.
And by the way, I used to be there, I don't know, 5, 10, 20 years ago, I don't know. So it's this whole, for me, it's acceptance that whoever is doing whatever, it's probably the best they can. Doesn't mean I embrace it, doesn't mean I condone it.
Right. So the BS that keeps coming to you is actually an opportunity for you to practice even more acceptance without judgment and just leaving it in their court as, well, that's what they know.
Yeah, but the challenge for me is I feel that we have this humongous challenge in humanity, humongous. And we live in this society that's so superficial. I'm saying if we actually all get it, we can actually, you know, save. I think this year UN says there'll be 20 million people dying of hunger. It would only take 30 billion to save those 20 million people, but it will not happen. So, but there's so much money. I mean, there's several billionaires in the U.S. Just for them, it's almost pocket change, you know.
Right.
So that's what I'm thinking, and there's so many things we could do. Like right now, we're having this political campaign in my province, and it's just a show of superficiality, you know, promises, but we're not creating. I mean, I don't feel that we're honoring the full consciousness of our country. So yeah, but then I go back to me. I need to work on myself and have acceptance and express love and compassion for everyone.
Exactly. So as we're shifting a little bit towards the end of our show, I want to make sure that I want to ask you what your legacy is.
My legacy, okay, it's a good question because I ask this question all the time, as you know. So I saw in my world when I built these fancy airplanes, I saw executives, and mostly men, that had a long career, and at 65, they created their legacy. They gave a lot of money away, but they didn't create the legacy when they were running the company. It wasn't always very conscious. I live my legacy every single day. you know, and I
Yeah,
get
I
my
love
rewards
that.
and the spark that I see in people's eyes once they get the transformation exists, that they now can create their life, and now they, you know, they commit to rising consciousness.
Okay.
So my legacy will have been to love people like they've never been loved before, which allows me to create a safe space for them to transform. So
That's
to
beautiful.
me, one of the people that helps them go from a caterpillar to a butterfly, you know, to transform, just with this love and safety of the space.
Where can people find you and more of you and more of this unconditional, sacred love that you are so good at giving?
I mean, I have people can find me on my website. You know, we offer a lot of events online for free. Through my synchronicity, attempted to record one last week, but I guess I didn't press the record button. So we'll do it again. But I invite a lot of, you know, very inspiring people to record episodes with me. We have a lot of free events online, and we're actually organizing events around the world. You know, so I can provide you my website, www.icfconsciousleadership.com. And on there, people will find all sorts of podcasts, videos, articles, and the list of all our events around the world.
And we've been flashing your website on a regular basis through our beautiful technology here in the back of the studio. And I'm super excited as well that we have met, number one. I'm super excited that we have an amazing synergy between the two of us. And I fundamentally believe that we're going to be creating so much together, including some conferences. So to come, hopefully, is a conference in LA together. We're talking about and starting to organize another one in Dubai. So if anyone wants to join us in some way on a conscious level, whether you are a speaker or whether you are wanting to chat with us, please reach out to us, because we want to welcome more amazing people in our lives, and to raise more awareness for all of this. And so I'm so grateful that you joined. This has been so much fun. And you are right now in Montreal. So you said your next step is you're going to go and, well, you have your amazing, by the way, your amazing conference this week, right? In Montreal.
Yeah, Thursday. I'll be celebrating my birthday with 200 people.
Okay, so then they can, actually, you can find tickets being still sold on your website, or also on my page, on my Facebook page. I shared that yesterday. So anyone who is interested in Montreal to join, I would highly recommend Stephane. More than highly recommend. I would tell you, just go. Just don't hesitate and go. And then the next conference is going to be what?
Then I'm going to Spain, believe it or not, south
That's
of Spain.
awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to go lead a workshop with a big technology company based in California. And then the next big conference will be in February in Israel.
Amazing. I'd love to go to join you in Israel. We'll see what happens. Thank you so much. So to all of you, you can find so much more on Stephane on his website. And I am so thrilled you joined us today. Thank you. Next week, we have an amazing guest, another one. I'm not going to say who just now because it's a big surprise as well. I like to keep the suspense. So thank you so much for joining. This has been amazing. I am grateful for your presence. And if you'd like to talk with me, you can do so on my site. You can actually book a free session or a conversation that we could have on anything that we are touching here in the studio on this show, Thrive and Shine. Thank you. See you next week. Bye.